cloud of suspicion surrounds the deaths of Oscar-winning actor Gene Hackman and his wife, whose bodies were found in their Santa Fe home. No one had seen the couple for days, and authorities say they had been dead for some time.
There is said to be a tunnel beneath Gene Hackman's mansion, one investigators were never meant to uncover. According to investigative sources and circulating theories, the passage descends more than 300 feet below his private library. At the bottom, reports describe a sealed iron door, walls etched with symbols that do not correspond to any recognized language, and crates containing artifacts that defy easy explanation. Federal authorities have declined to address these claims publicly. The official record lists natural causes as the reason for his death, yet those who focus on what was allegedly hidden beneath the estate argue that Hackman may have carried certain secrets with him to the grave, secrets some believe were never intended to come to light. What deepens the mystery, according to those familiar with the claims, is the construction itself. The tunnel appears to have been engineered for permanence. If true, the question becomes unavoidable. What was meant to remain sealed below? Before going further, it is essential to distinguish between confirmed facts and ongoing speculation. Details about the tunnel, the artifacts, and the carved symbols originate from investigative accounts and research theories. Some aspects have been documented, others remain contested. What is verified is this: Gene Hackman and his wife, Betsy Arakawa, were discovered deceased in their Santa Fe residence on February 26, 2022. The timeline raised questions. Betsy Arakawa is believed to have died weeks earlier, around February 3rd, yet her body was not discovered until both were found together. Hackman's cause of death was reported as cardiovascular disease, with Alzheimer's disease listed as a contributing factor. While the medical findings were clear, the circumstances surrounding the discovery have continued to invite scrutiny. The fortress in the forest. To understand the allegations regarding what lies beneath the property, one must first understand the nature of the estate itself. This was not an ordinary residence. It functioned more like a secured compound. Richard Castellano, a security consultant who evaluated the property systems during a 2019 insurance assessment, reportedly described the layout as residential architecture shaped by a mindset of extreme precaution. The estate occupied 23 acres of dense woodland outside Santa Fe. In several areas, 12-foot stone walls enclosed the perimeter. The single entrance was secured by reinforced steel gates. Motion detectors monitored all approaches within a 500-foot radius. Thermal imaging cameras tracked activity continuously. Castellano is said to have remarked that the surveillance infrastructure rivaled systems he had observed at sensitive government sites. Staff members were carefully selected, extensively vetted, and required to sign strict non-disclosure agreements that prohibited them from discussing activities within the property. High security is not unusual for a public figure of Hackman's prominence. What drew attention, however, were certain construction details recalled by former contractors. Miguel Reyes, a Santa Fe contractor who worked on the estate in the early 2000s, was reportedly hired for what was described as foundation reinforcement. Yet the specifications, he later stated, did not resemble typical residential work. He recalled requests for concrete walls 18 inches thick in sections of the basement, dimensions more consistent with fortified bunker construction. When he asked about the purpose, he was told the space would be used for storage. In his view, the level of reinforcement suggested preparation for something far more severe than simple storage needs. Reyes was compensated at 3 times his standard rate and required to sign a non-disclosure agreement lasting 20 years. That agreement expired in 2024, 1 year before Hackman's death. The central question remains: what justified such extensive security measures? Some believe the answer may lie beneath the library floor, approximately 300 feet below. The discovery. Dr. Patricia Okonkwo, a forensic specialist with over 2 decades of federal investigative experience, was reportedly among those who entered the mansion during the initial response. She later described the scene as highly unusual. Upon arrival on February 26th, investigators sensed inconsistencies. It was not merely the silence of the property. Subtle details suggested recent activity. Furniture appeared to have been repositioned, leaving visible impressions in carpeting where pieces had long rested. Scuff marks on hardwood floors did not align with the limited mobility of the occupants. Documents within Hackman's study seemed to have been handled and reorganized hastily. Some investigators theorized that someone had been searching for specific items. Others suggested that Hackman himself may have been moving or concealing materials during his final days. In either interpretation, the scene did not fully align with the narrative of two elderly individuals quietly passing away. The pivotal moment came during examination of the library. As part of standard procedure in high-value estates, Dr. Okonkwo inspected the mahogany paneling for hidden compartments. When tapping along one section, approximately 4 feet wide, she detected a hollow resonance. Behind that panel, concealed with remarkable precision, was a narrow stone passageway. Steps, worn smooth by what appeared to be years of use, spiraled downward into darkness. The air rising from below was cold and damp, carrying an odor one agent compared to that of a long-sealed crypt. The tunnel measured roughly 36 inches in width and descended steeply. Portions of the stonework appeared significantly older than the modern reinforcements added later. Some investigators estimated that the original construction could date back nearly a century. Whoever built the passage intended it to endure. The pressing question was what lay at its end. Into the darkness. The descent reportedly lasted close to 15 minutes. Approximately 312 feet below the library, the staircase opened into a large underground chamber, later referred to by some commentators as the vault. The room measured about 40 by 60 feet. Its arched ceilings resembled late 19th century Spanish colonial architecture, according to local historian Dr. Elena Vasquez. She had studied the property's history prior to Hackman's death and uncovered records indicating mining activity on the land in the 1870s. Over the 20th century, the property changed hands multiple times through anonymous trusts. Between 1920 and 1965, ownership transferred 7 times, each transaction structured in a way that obscured the identity of the buyer. Dr. Vasquez reportedly characterized this pattern as deliberate concealment rather than routine real estate practice. Inside the chamber were stacks of wooden crates, 47 in total, according to early inventories. Some had deteriorated with age, spilling contents across the stone floor. One crate reportedly contained a leather-bound ledger dated 1947, filled with names, dates, and financial entries written in German. Another held 63 aged photographs depicting individuals in military-style uniforms that did not correspond to any recognized armed forces. Several images appeared to document meetings in dimly lit rooms. Others showed locations that researchers have yet to identify. In some cases, names had been deliberately scratched out, removing identifiable traces. Yet the objects themselves were not the only source of concern. The chamber walls were covered with hundreds of symbols that did not match any known writing system. Dr. Okonkwo documented more than 300 individual markings. Some resembled medieval European alchemical symbols. Others appeared technical in nature, similar to schematic diagrams of mechanisms seemingly beyond the technological context of their supposed era. A few resembled astronomical charts, though the star positions did not correspond to any documented configuration within the past millennium. Interpretations vary widely. Some investigators believe the markings reflect the eccentricities of a former owner, perhaps an occult enthusiast or collector. Others propose they are encoded messages intended for a limited audience. A more speculative view suggests the symbols represent knowledge intentionally concealed across generations. If such claims held merit, they would significantly alter perceptions of the Hackman case. At the far end of the chamber stood an 8-foot-tall iron door, 4 inches thick, partially hidden behind deteriorating crates. Its surface was corroded with rust and grime, suggesting decades without disturbance. There was no visible handle, only a heavy locking mechanism designed to keep something secured indefinitely. Authorities have declined to comment on what, if anything, lies beyond it. Some speculate the tunnel connects to a broader subterranean network, possibly linked to Cold War-era infrastructure or earlier installations no longer reflected in public records. Others believe the door conceals a secondary chamber that remains sealed. A more cautious view holds that it may simply be an unused structural feature. Miguel Reyes recalled being asked once about sourcing blast-resistant industrial doors similar to those used in government facilities. He declined the request, stating that such work fell outside his expertise. Whispers in the dark. Residents near the estate have long described the property as unusual. Some recall cryptic remarks from Hackman, references to threats or betrayals delivered without elaboration. Others describe late-night visitors whose identities were never publicly known. There are also accounts of mechanical sounds emanating from beneath the ground at irregular hours, noises interpreted by some as construction or excavation. Conspiracy theorists point to former staff members and contractors who later disappeared from public view, though such claims remain unverified. The connection between the alleged underground chamber and the deaths of Gene and Betsy Hackman remains unresolved. Official reports attribute the deaths to natural causes. The medical examiner confirmed cardiovascular disease, with Alzheimer's disease contributing. Still, the timeline raises lingering questions. Betsy's death preceded discovery by more than 3 weeks. Hackman died later, alone in the residence with her body present. Speculation ranges widely. Some suggest the couple possessed knowledge that placed them at risk. Others argue the tunnel could have provided concealed access to the home. A few contend that Hackman may have entered the chamber one final time and encountered something unforeseen. These interpretations remain unproven. The truth beneath our feet. The investigation continues. Federal forensic teams are reportedly examining artifacts, documents, and the carved symbols. Advanced analytical methods are being used to test for chemical residues, DNA traces, and potential cryptographic patterns. Should evidence point toward identifiable individuals or organizations, the case could evolve in unexpected directions. For now, authorities maintain silence. Throughout his career, Gene Hackman portrayed characters entangled in conspiracies and hidden truths, from the French Connection to Enemy of the State. On screen, he embodied men confronting powerful forces determined to keep secrets buried. Whether life imitated art is a matter of perspective. The tunnel remains in place. The iron door is reportedly still sealed. Whatever truths lie beneath the mansion have yet to be definitively established. The essential question is not simply whether secrets exist, but whether they can ever be fully uncovered.